Our speaker today is Mr. Michael Irving Phillips. Mr. Phillips is the author of Leave the Rat Race to the Rats and Boycott Money and Save Your Soul, launching the Goodwill Revolution. He is the co-host of WEAA's Caribbean Exchange. He received an MA degree in education from Howard University and is also the author of several books of poetry. The title of his talk is The Goodwill Revolution, Leave the Rat Race to the Rats. Reflection. Please welcome Mr. Michael Irving Phillips.
This is, I don't know if anyone's familiar with reggae music. This is Bob Marley, Rat Race, which... Basically, Bob Marley said, "Oh, what a rat race," and it is a disgrace to see the human race in a rat race, which is the thesis of my book. It's a disgrace to see the human race in a rat race. Next slide, please. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to start a revolution. The revolution is the Goodwill Revolution. Leave the Rat Race to the Rats is a blueprint for transforming the dismal American ghettos into a model society by abandoning the corrosive, money-chasing, materialistic rat race culture for the goodwillism of the Goodwill Revolution. Now, I've started, where does revolution start? It doesn't start in the middle class. It certainly doesn't start in the upper class. It starts at the people who are forsaken at the bottom of the ladder. So this is where this revolution starts. Next slide, please. We all have a stake in improving America. The book seeks to improve America from the bottom up. No more trickle down. Everything else is trickle down. No more band-aids. The book contains a systematic, comprehensive, revolutionary plan to resuscitate the most blighted, neglected neighborhoods in America by a cultural revolution called the Goodwill Revolution. This revolution is inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. Next slide, please. The rat race. The love of money is the root of all the evil. We've heard that before, although it seems to not make a difference with most people. Our rat race culture pits people against each other in a competition to get as much money, materials, and power as they can. Greed, selfishness, ruthlessness, and avarice are assets in the race. Kindness, sincerity, compassion are liabilities. The rat race culture has corrupted our values and our institutions. Violence and inequality are wreaking havoc. The winners of the rat race are highly respected, losers are despised. If there are 10 participants in any race, there is only one winner, but 9 losers. Similarly, the rat race creates lots of losers, and this is unacceptable. In our society, the worst losers are poor people in the ghettos, poor black people.
Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? My friends all drive Porsches, I must make amends. Worked hard all my lifetime, no help from my friends. So oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz?
That was Janis Joplin trying to make amends for her friends having Mercedes Benz. So she wants to get a, was it a Porsche. You want to get a Porsche to make amends, which is pretty much the attitude of the rat race. You know, you're competing to get the more glamorous car. Goodwillism of the Goodwill Revolution. The rat race is not compulsory, but we do have a choice. We need to choose a real alternative to this rat race culture. We need a cultural revolution, and this is a cultural revolution. The Goodwill Revolution is that alternative. This goodwill to all revolution encompasses a comprehensive set of principles which reinforces and mobilizes the inherent goodness of mankind as the key to true happiness. In the Goodwill Revolution, kindness, compassion, and honesty are valuable assets. Greed, selfishness, ruthlessness are liabilities. Next slide, please. Inherently good. This is the foundation, as I said, of the Goodwill Revolution. And this question has been raised by man: is man naturally good or what? I contend that man is inherently good. What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form, in moving, how expressive and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. William Shakespeare. And Nelson Mandela on solving the apartheid problem. Historical enemies succeeded in negotiating a peaceful transition from apartheid, the horrors of apartheid, to democracy because we were prepared to accept the inherent goodness in the other. The inherent goodness. Next slide, please. Now, briefly, I'll just outline some of my thinking in why I consider man inherently good. If he does an evil deed, he has got to contend with conscience. And after he does it, he contends with guilt and remorse. We have jury selection. We select 12 people, and we presume they will make good decisions. Even our democracy, we've said the majority of people will make good decisions. People want justice for all, not justice for themselves, their family, their race. They want justice for all. This is what we want. This is evidence of our inherent goodness. People want equal opportunity for all. Despite all this is not happening, this is what everybody will admit to, even persons who are denying it. Police don't want to kill innocent, unarmed people. No one wants to see people go to bed hungry. People want health care for all. This is what we want. Everybody wants this. And this comes from our basic inherent goodness. Next slide, please. The goodwill to all revolution, goodwillism. Well, to join the revolution, these are some of the qualities. We've got to reject money, materialism, and power. Goodwill to all, regardless, no exceptions. You know, it's not enough to be good to the nice, friendly people who are around. We've got to be good to all. You know, we don't want to form a massive clique where only our friends are. We exhibit goodwill to. No, it's goodwill to all. And do good deeds. That's what we do. Do good deeds. Good deeds are pretty easy to do. And too often we shy away from it. We have got to consciously, whenever we have an opportunity to do it, do good deeds. You know, good deeds helps everyone. You do a good deed to this gentleman here. I feel good for doing it. He feels good, and people seeing you doing it, they feel good too. It's a win all around. And good deeds sometimes can then even a smile. As I said, you know, I go to a restaurant, I want a surly waitress because my job is I want to make sure that after she's finished with me, she'll be feeling better. And I've done that. I went to, you know, a desk clerk and she was feeling bad, it was crowded, and I just engage in conversation, you could see the change in her. And, you know, she confessed that, you know, people have problems all over and they like someone to be. And it's easy to do. Let us do it. Unlock the good in all and mobilize it to improve the community. Working together for the benefit of all, reinforce good, triple A them. I'll talk more about what I mean by triple A them. But we've got to reinforce good. You know, our rat race undermines the inherent goodness of man. We've got to come up with a system that reinforces the goodness. And this is the Goodwill Revolution is all about. Next slide. Oh, I skipped something?
No retaliation.
Oh, no retaliation. This is the most important part. Well, one of the most important. No retaliation. I mean, this is the toughest part of the Goodwill Revolution to do. Everybody's proud of their payback and how they can settle that score with the person. Retaliation usually means escalation too. Someone steps on your toe, you go kick them the next time, and then you go get the two friends to come and beat you up, and then you get three guys with guns, and it escalates up. If we can get rid of retaliation, we'll be making a significant improvement. But it's tough to do. It's tough because we've been schooled in retaliation, you know. But this is a revolution. Revolution is not supposed to be easy. But I cannot stress enough that this is difficult to do, but this is key. Next. Okay, the missing ingredient. Here we have Blue Blood Bob and Ghetto Willie. Education, Blue Blood Bob is a Harvard grad, and Ghetto Will is a high school dropout. Job, he's a doctor, and Ghetto Will is a fast food server. House, 8-bedroom mansion, 1-bedroom ghetto apartment. Car, Mercedes-Benz, just like Janis Joplin wanted. None rides a bus. Salary, $300,000 per year, $650 per hour. Race, white. Ghetto Willie, black. But for some reason, Ghetto Willie has a better quality of life because something is missing. What is missing?
Community.
No. What is missing? Ghetto Willie is happy. Ghetto Willie is happy. With all these things that Blue Blood bad, he's not happy. But Ghetto Willie, despite his poverty, is happy. Go to the next slide. So the goal of Goodwill is money, materialism, power is not the goal. The goal is happiness. The goal is happiness. Happiness comes from relationships with people. We put people first. Play the song.
Back when I had a little, I thought that I needed a lot. A little was overrated, but a lot was a little too complicated. See, zero didn't satisfy me, a million didn't make me happy. That's when I learned the lesson, that it's all about your perceptions. Hey, are you a popper or a superstar? So you act, so you feel, so you are. That ain't about the size of your car, it's about the size of the faith in your heart. There's hope, it doesn't cost a thing to smile. You don't have to pay to laugh, you better thank God for that.
You know, I have a friend and he's a workaholic and he's here telling me what all his big plans, he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And I said to him, are you happy? And he was taken aback by the question. And he thought a while and said, I'll get back to you. Okay, seemingly insurmountable problems. Residents of the black ghetto must endure inferior education, slave wage jobs, high unemployment, no health insurance, high crime rate, unjust hostile police, political impotence. I'm sure we'll agree with that. Next slide. Rat race education and employment. I consider education as the rat race education, and here we are told that education and hard work is the way to achieve the American dream, but not in the ghetto. The current education is rat race education. It tries to equip students to compete in the rat race. How can a ghetto student compete when faced with inferior education, inferior learning environment, all those things? He does not stand a chance. And instead, the rat race education, he doesn't stand a chance. He goes through this, he knows he doesn't have a chance. And what does education do? It reinforces his feeling of inferiority because he cannot compete. It's not a fair competition. Instead, rat race education reinforces feelings of inferiority and makes dropping out seem very attractive. So we have schools become dropout factories in the ghetto, which most schools, statistics say, 60% of the students might reach graduation. And the next consequence of this feeling reinforcement of inferiority is the school to prison pipeline, where instead of graduating to school, they graduate to prison, as crime seems attractive. You know, we have some fantastic people who have overcome all these odds, like President HUD Secretary, what's his name from Baltimore? Carson. He survived ghetto thing. But it's not enough to pick up the best of the ghetto and take them out of the ghetto. We've got to get the majority of the people in the ghetto, not use these standard bearers whose main job is to get out the ghetto, and 3 of them get out the ghetto out of 100,000, and we say that's good. So next slide, please. Rat race employment. With the highest unemployment in the land and with most jobs in the ghetto failing to provide living wage, permanent employment, benefits and security, too many workers lose their hope, their dignity, and their self-esteem. No jobs and bad jobs lead to crime. Next slide. Tackling crime and policing in the ghetto. You know, if we've got to tackle all the problems. In my book, I tackle all the problems. We cannot skirt that. Tackling crime and policing in the ghetto with goodwillism. The greed and ruthlessness of the rat race serve as a catalyst for crime. Crime is a major factor for the misery of ghetto life. Ghetto residents live in fear of criminals, gangs, and the police. Next slide. Goodwillism to the rescue. Goodwillism will do the impossible. It will resuscitate, reinforce, and mobilize the inherent goodness of the residents so that combined with a good dose of common sense in the ghetto, criminality will decline, recidivism will decline, black and black crime will become black pride, gangs will choose to do good instead of evil, ex-cons will embrace real rehabilitation. Instead of the hostility, arrogance, brutality, and abuse of power, the police will fulfill their roles as protectors and so earn the trust, cooperation, and respect of the ghetto. Sounds like pie in the sky. Next slide. Okay. Latchkey Kids Takes a Village. I'm going to read from this book here. Here's the situation. A 7-year-old boy steals a bicycle from another kid. The parent, he is found out by the parent of the kid from whom the bicycle is stolen. John was only 6 years old, but he was well on his way to a line of crime. He stole another kid's bicycle from another 6-year-old. It's okay, I can see. The victim told his mom, oh, the mic. The victim told his mom, and the mom tracked down Johnny to his home. She confronted Johnny's mom indignantly and threatened to call the police if Johnny did not return the bike, and never do it again. I am sure this happens all the time. Johnny's mother was a single mom. This is the bike thief. She worked long hours in some low-paying job which kept her away from home most of the days, leaving little Johnny alone at home unsupervised most of the time. Can you hear me okay? I keep forgetting the mic. Under these circumstances, little Johnny will probably steal again, and did. Now, if the complaining mother was a goodwillist, here is what she would have done instead of just threatening jail. She would sit down with Johnny and his mother and say something like this to Johnny. I'm concerned about your future, Johnny. Do you know, Johnny, that stealing a bicycle is a crime? Do you know that you could go to jail for that? If you're a thief, and do you want to be a thief? Are you a thief, and do you want to be a thief? If you go to jail as a thief, you will be locked away and you will lose your freedom. Losing your freedom means you will not see your loving mother, your friends, be unable to play games, go to the movies, and so on. It will make your mother very unhappy, so unhappy, I am sure that she will cry to lose you. Do you want to make your mother unhappy, to make her cry? Do you really think stealing a bicycle is worth this headache? Let us do things to make your mother proud of you. Your mother already has a very hard life, working hard to look after you. Do not make it harder for her. I don't want you to go to jail. That is a horrible thing. Let's be friends. I hope you'll let me be your friend. Whenever I see you, I will be sure to say hi and ask, how are you doing? It takes a village to raise a child. Let's be that village. This is another reggae song by Cockatoo.
The first time that you come to New York, the village, you mustn't skylark.
You can understand the verse.
Don't you turn yourself in a fool. But now in Ghana, Rikers Island, they never want to go Rikers Island. But now in Ghana, Rikers Island, they never want to go Rikers Island. You should have hear what your mama say. Keep on pushing drugs and then you must fade away. You should have hear what your papa say. Send you to America, you send you there to play. But now in Ghana, Rikers Island, they never want to go Rikers Island. They used to chuck it from Brooklyn to Bronx.
Okay, next slide.
And I wonder.
Yeah, little Johnny could end up at Rikers Island, and the village could head him off. Crime is a sucker's game. Here's a criminal wanted advertisement. Job description, job title, robber, thief, thug. Titles are interchangeable. Job duties, mugging, stealing, housebreaking, handbag snatching. Job hazards, incarceration, injury, beating, death, being shot, being despised and hated by community, becoming a fugitive. Job skills needed, stealing, gun, knife, blunt instrument, crowbar, finding dealer in stolen goods, negotiating prices for stolen goods. Wages varies but approximately $1,000 a month. No actual data is available. It's based on a guesstimate on stealing from mainly other poor people in the ghetto. Educational requirements, none. Experience and qualities, not required but helpful. Schoolyard bully, social misfit, cruel, lacking a conscience or remorse. Job benefits, no sick leave, no paid holidays, no paid vacation, no health insurance, no pension, does not provide eligibility requirements for Social Security and Medicare. Crime is a sucker's game. I mean, people are, you know, we need to get that across. Committing crime, especially the greater robbing poor people, beat them up is a sucker's game. Of course, there's talk about these drug dealer millionaires. You know, once again, we're talking about a mere few. The majority of them, I heard on the radio an interview, they interviewed someone, and he spoke about a 9-year-old boy who was a drug dealer. His mother was hung up on drugs. He was the breadwinner for the family, and he was barely able to exist. So, you know, crime is a loser's game. I hope I've made the point. Next slide. Criminals in the ghetto are risking death, incarceration, injury, life as a fugitive for chicken feed. But worst of all, they end up being hated and despised by the overwhelming majority in the ghetto. In their community, they end up that way. And you see, we've got to restore dignity to people. Next slide. Gang terror. Now, a lot of the crime in the ghetto is related to gangs. Chicago, during the week of August 7 through August 13, 2016, 110 people were shot in Chicago. 24 of them died. Monday, August 8, 2016 was Chicago's deadliest day in the last 13 years, with 9 people murdered on that one day. The typical response is break up the gangs. I said that has not worked. It has not worked, and it is futile. Instead, what we need to do is convert gangs to do good instead by unlocking their inherent goodness. Next slide. Gangs are attractive to these rejected individuals who join gangs. To the many rejected youth with no education, no job skills, no self-esteem, gangs offer identity, a sense of belonging, allegiance, protection, and camaraderie. We can provide that for them. We have rejected these people, and unless we need to provide this that gangs provide for them. We need to welcome them into the community of our gang. Next slide. Now, any leader is intelligent, although we have some problems with that with our current leader. But leaders are intelligent. To be a leader is a difficult job. Gang leaders, they have a responsibility to their members. We need to appeal to the intelligence of the leaders. Crime is a sucker's game. We got to impress them now. Crime is a sucker's game. If you are a responsible leader, should you be leading your people into a sucker's game? We see how bad it is. So it is not intelligent for the gang leader to pursue a life of crime for their followers. Most members join for the belonging, allegiance, identity, protection, anyhow, and not for the crime, the despicable crime. Goodwill is better than crime. Instead of retaliation against rivals, reconciliation. Retaliation is a big thing in these gangs. We see that and lots of innocent people get killed in that. It's a tough sell to abandon retaliation for gangs. It is a tough sell. But someone has done you an injustice, a vicious even injury to you, and you're angry. I mean, what is the best possible outcome? BPO, I call it. What is the BPO? What is the best possible outcome that can come from that? Well, the typical response is, well, I'm going to really get some people and beat them up. But the best possible outcome is that that person become a friend. That is the best. Whether it's realistic or not, that is the best possible. He's an enemy no more. Become a friend. So I say we should always aim for the best possible outcome. And that is making the person friend, trying to make the person friend. Next slide. Quit that sucker's game and do good instead. It's better to earn the respect and admiration of the community instead of the shame, their disgust, and loathing. The ghetto community needs your help. Gang leaders need to get together and come to a joint amicable solution. This is not fantasy. They did just that in the Freddie Gray riots right here in Baltimore. Next slide. Rival gangs, the Bloods and the Crips and other gangs decided to unite to prevent the destruction on their own. As one of the leaders explained, to stop what's going on, that's all we're trying to do. We just want justice for Freddie Gray. We believe in that. The violence and looting, it's just making us look bad, and it's backing up what they're saying about us. They're saying we're animals and we're acting like savages out here. I don't agree with what's going on, but I understand why and why people are mad, but we've got to handle things another way. So these gangs were helping out in the Freddie Gray riots, but this is hardly reported. This is hardly reported. Next slide. City response to the gangs' help. Did the city reach out and welcome their assistance? No. Did the city praise them for their stand? No. Did the city reinforce their good behavior? No, no, no. The community did not either. Next slide. AAA then. I mentioned AAA before. And the A's are aware, acknowledge, and appreciate. The city should have cited them publicly for their heroics. It reinforced good, This is, everybody wants to be a critic, but we got to work on reinforcing good. And when bad people do good, let us reinforce that goodness. The neighborhood black church minister should have invited them to their church service, introduced them to the congregation, and from the pulpit, praise them for their actions. This is Goodwillism 101. We need to reach out to these gangs and welcome them to join our gang, the community. Next slide. We go to policing in the ghetto. I'm just touching on some of these things that are in the book in more detail. People join the police force to do good. Inherent goodness, here we go again. They want to arrest bad guys, preserve law and order, protect the weak and defenseless, punish the guilty and defend the innocent. Personal play a role in justice, not for some, but for all. No, these people, I'm confident, this is my opinion, granted, but I'm confident that's a major reason why people get into become policemen. Next slide. But something has gone horribly wrong. What has happened to these good intentions? The rat race has happened. The rat race lust for power has happened. The rat race has a corrupting influence and has created an arrogant, imperious cop culture instead. There are good cops and bad cops. Next slide. Bad cops are not rookies. Rookies come in with all those great intentions. Bad cops are veterans. Bad cops are influential. They create the culture. Bad cops are overly ambitious. Bad cops do not respect the poor and the voiceless. Bad cops break the rules. Bad cops ignore probable cause. But bad cops get promoted and perpetuate hostile relationships. Next slide. Bad cops are the worst threat to police. Ruin the reputation of the police, sow distrust, enmity, and disrespect in the community. Ruin it for cops everywhere. Breed distrust of the community, and good cops suffer the consequences. Next slide. Good cops form the overwhelming majority of the police, are not respected in many ghetto police precincts. Good cops, who cares, in the precinct itself, must be helpless spectators to police brutality or face serious consequences from the institution. They are afraid to intercede when these acts are taking place. They want to, but the cop culture and the environment there stops them. And in my book I have cited instances, are Muslim and dare not speak about observed police brutality, the blue line of silence. Next slide. The goal of Goodwill is not to get bad cops fired, but to make them good cops. We don't want to break up gangs, we want to make them good gangs. to strengthen the relationship between cops and the ghetto residents, to make cops perform in such a way to be admired, trusted, and respected in the ghetto, to unlock the inherent goodness in cops, to give them a more meaningful life in the ghetto instead of being ruthless invaders. I mean, you know, go to the next slide. I'm not sure if it... What do the ghetto need from police? To be treated fairly with respect and dignity, to be considered innocent until proven guilty, not profiled and stereotyped as guilty before proof, to be able to obtain police protection without police persecution, especially as they are the prime victims of crime. I know a person, he's in the 60s, he goes to the police because his vehicle was stolen. They threw him in jail. You know, so what does that... I mean, eventually the city ended up being fined because his wife had worked for the police as a clerk in the precinct, and so he had some contacts, and he ended up winning a lawsuit. You know, but it sends this message: don't go to the police for help. You're on your own. Cooperation instead of confrontation. To build a bridge between the community and the police. That's what Goodwill seems to do. Next slide. Now, we hear about stop and frisk, and the statistics in the book are pretty startling. I say instead of stop and frisk, we have stop and greet. Here's a bunch of guys in the ghetto hanging around. I said the policeman comes to drive, he gets out, he goes to it, introduces himself. Hey, I'm such and such. Some guys will probably run away like Freddie Gray. They expect trouble with police. But for the ones that stay, you introduce yourself. I'm such and such. I'm trying to make sure that you guys have a good time. You talk informal conversation. How are the calls doing, this type of thing, and you stop and greet. And you do that from time to time, rather than, you know, and you build up this, just a simple act like that repeated will do wonders for the relationship. So I say instead of stop and frisk, you stop and greet. Next slide. More and more police chiefs are on our side, even with the defiance of influential bad cops and the FOP union. AAA the good cops. Seek out the good cops and reinforce their actions. Instead of civilian reward, set up police-civilian reconciliation committee to constantly improve relations. We don't wait for something to go bad and then say, let's review it. No, we set up a community relation thing with the sole purpose of improving those relations. Cops probably hate working in the ghetto. Everybody hates the ghetto. Why don't I in some nice middle-class neighborhood? But with helping the poor, weak, defenseless, forsaken in the ghetto, they can make their job not just meaningful, but heroic. The hook. The hook is basically what one wants out of any type of situation. You want to have safety, you want to have protection, you want to have camaraderie. You want to have feeling of identity, a feeling of purpose. And Goodwillism will give cops all this. As I said, remember, I'm not for firing the cops. I think we can make them good cops. They've got experience and that everything. But we can't make bad cops good cops. Next slide. Overcoming political impotence in the ghetto with Goodwillism. Well, here comes the controversial part. Next slide. Overcoming political impotence in the ghetto, which shows how to take stock of the existing situation, how to recognize, identify, and cope with our enemies, the importance of political power. That should be underlined. Economic and political strategies to overcome political impotence. How to turn apathy into activism in the ghetto. Next slide. American supremacists. Occupy Wall Street lives. My book is dedicated to Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street exposed that the 1% richest people in America dominate the political landscape, so that our American democracy is in shambles. Instead of government of the people, by the people, for the people, we have government of the 1%, by the 1%, for the 1%. I refer to the 1% as American supremacists because they consider themselves supreme because of this power. Next slide. Money in our democracy. Analysis of Federal Elections Commission data showing 2012 candidates needed to raise an average of Senate $14,351 per day. House members a little less, $2,315 per day. Now in 25 years now it's probably much more. In 2011 there were 12,619 registered lobbyists who spent a total of $3.3 billion. Our democracy is in trouble. Next slide. Record of American supremacists. They leave behind a long trail of opposition to any change designed to benefit poor people. They oppose 40-hour week, Medicare, Social Security, the graduated income tax, workers' rights, civil rights for black, equal rights for women, but they love war. Next slide. They have extended that opposition to one man, one vote, the very foundation of our democracy, using voter suppression tactics to deny. Universal health care, unions, any group or organization which advocates and protects the rights of ordinary people, ACORN, NAACP as an example. Living wage and increase in the minimum wage, campaign finance reform, even government itself, government regulations such as EPA, OEO, ERA, antitrust regulations. Next. The prime strategy of American supremacists. It is very effective, it is easy, it is ruthless, it is the complete antithesis of the Goodwill Revolution. So what is it? Anyone wants to hazard a guess? What is this prime strategy?
Divide.
That's it, right.
What is that?
Divide.
Hit
And conquer.
Divide and conquer. That's what they use. We talking about Goodwill Theory, they use divide and conquer. It's a great strategy. It has worked. It has worked throughout history really well. Next slide. Fostering distrust and enmity between various groups. White versus black, make ghetto blacks demons by mass incarceration, frisk and search, adverse publicity, etc. Religious intolerance, Christians versus Muslims versus Jews. The insured versus the uninsured, non-immigrants versus immigrants, the employed versus the unemployed, rich versus poor or has. These are easy things for them to do, and then it's constant, and once it starts rolling, they can sit back and watch it go. Next. Overcoming divide and conquer. The people united will never be defeated. I'm sure they said that a lot in the march. They always, that's a popular chant, although I find that they're not united. Form the Goodwill Coalition, a real working coalition of issues, poverty, union rights, anti-war, employee rights, universal health care, women's rights, environment, civil liberties. So I'm advocating that these poor people in the ghetto form alliances with these things. On their own, they're completely helpless. Next slide. Sample of coalition groups. Well, I've just listed some of the groups there. Blacks, Arab Americans, Native Americans, Latinos, poor whites. You can take a look at that for time. I'll just won't bother read all of that. Okay, next slide. Economic strategy to overcome political impotency. Boycott. Boycott, a coordinated, systematic, organized boycott against agents of the 1%. A boycott of millions via the coalition. Now, we've had boycotts and little isolated boycotts, but we need to get all these coordinated groups together to form millions where our boycott will be an effective tool, not these isolated boycotts. And even the isolated boycotts have been effective. Can you imagine if we get all our groups form coalition and then boycott? I go into primarily the boycott is discussed in greater detail in my first book, boycott one. Skip next slide. Let's review the dastardly opposition posed by America. It is similar, if not identical, to the Republican Party. No, I've been told that I shouldn't say that, and usually, you know, whenever anything is, I am reporting the facts as they exist. And if you say something bad about the Republican Party, there's some obligation that you should find something bad to say about the Democratic Party. That is not. This is objective, and it deserves to be mentioned. This is not coincidence. The Republican Party is the party of the 1%. We must become the opposition to the Republican Party. The most effective way to do that, tada, is become Democrats. Next slide. Become Democrats. Notice I didn't say vote Democrats. I said become Democrats. Not vote Democrats, but become Democrats. The leaders of the coalition groups should become Democrats. The members of the coalition groups should become Democrats. Third parties remain on the fringe and ineffective. Staying outside the party and trying to influence it is ineffective. You've got to become the party. Next slide. The Tea Party did not stay outside. And no, they are the Republican Party. They didn't stay outside and try to, no, they became Republican. The Arab Spring failed miserably in Egypt because it created a political vacuum. You had all this opposition and they kicked out their leader, but there was no political leader, no political party, and it created chaos. And then the Muslim Brotherhood took over as a result of that vacuum, and then they kicked them out, and then now Egypt is as bad as it is now with a very authoritarian government. There was no political system to channel their discontent, and so they're just as bad, if not worse off them. Even Occupy Wall Street, which I am a great admirer of, they did not create any political opposition. And unless we have abandoned the political too long. Next slide. Become Democrat success. A quiz is coming up. This person was an independent. Then this person became a Democrat and launched a popular revolution. Who is that person? Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. Become Democrat. Not vote Democrat, become Democrat. Be in on the decision making and of it. Next slide. New Goodwill Revolution and Democratic Party. A new Goodwill Revolution and Democratic Party will rise from the ghetto. They will not just huddle in meetings to elect candidates. They will be the hub of helping people in the ghetto. All the community leaders will already be in the club, unions, all those coalitions will become Democrats, etc. Next slide. The club will have the expertise to direct ghetto residents to available resources who often are unaware of such help. It will help resolve conflicts and be on the lookout to help in the Goodwill Revolution tradition. And in that tradition, it will have all, including Republicans. Goodwill to all. It will be the club of the 99%. Next slide. Join the revolution, I say. Revolution is not easy, but this is much easier than the civil rights revolution. We face none of those hardships, dogs, fire hoses, police clubs, murder, you know. This is an easy thing for us to join this revolution. But it's a tough job to change culture. Every time you listen to an advertisement, it's operating against us. But it can be done. Saul changed to Paul. Saul was the greatest persecutor of the Christians, but he changed to become one of its greatest advocates. A segregationist governor changed. I'm talking about George Wallace. Lots of people don't realize this. These were some of his famous words. Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. But do people realize that George Wallace changed and apologized to the black leaders? He went up into many churches and apologized for his stand against things. And when he ran the last time to God, he got over 90% of the black vote. He was forgiven. Change is possible. Next slide. Do you recall this picture?
Mm-hmm.
Next slide. It is a picture of Florida State University football star Travis Roth
Rudolph, and an autistic boy. An autistic boy who was lonely and avoided by high school peers and forced to eat alone, but not anymore. Not after the FSU athlete chose to sit with him, that simple act of kindness, and he was lonely no more. Acts of kindness, not that complicated, guys. Next slide. The word Goodwill Revolution can put neighbor back into the hood, change the mean ghetto into a caring community of friends, and not just the ghetto. This is just a prototype for saving the world. Why can't we be friends? Thank you very much.